Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth from Handi Quilter. I have a quilt on here with some antique blocks, and then we've pieced it together, and we're ready to put a border in, but I want to make the border continuous. So I'm going to show you how to do that with the Pro Stitcher, because all of this quilt has been done with the Pro Stitcher. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to do is bring in my designs. So I'm going to go ahead and go to open, and I have the two designs up. I need the flare border and the corner. So first I'm going to bring in the corner and open that up. And I might as well, while I'm at it, just go in and get the flare border. So I have both of those on the screen. Now, the one that is selected is, or the one that I could work on, is the one that is selected with the blue box around it. Well, that's not the one I want to work on to begin with. I want to actually work on the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and select just the corner. And now we'll refresh that so you can see that. That corner and the flare border, which is the one down below, is grayed out. So I'm not working with that, I just have it on the screen. And you don't have to bring it in if you don't want to, but I just have them both there now so I can work with them. The next thing I want to do is create an area for this on the quilt. So I'm going to go to my area, I'm going to move over, and I'm going to create the area all the way around both corners and the border of the top. I'm going to start with about 1/4 inch inside. That gives me some wiggle room. Press multi-point, and we'll refresh this so we can see where I'm at. I'm going to come across and about 1/2 inch inside. That accommodates the binding and that 1/4 inch on the other side. So I'm going to multi-point again, up to the corner, multi-point. You can see it's forming a shape, an area. I'm going to move it all the way over to that 1/4 inch or the 1/2 inch. I'll refresh this again so you can see it. And come down here 1/2 inch in. And you can see right there that it's off a little bit, so if I wanted to straighten out my quilt, I could undo that and maybe stretch my quilt a little bit so that it squared it up a little bit better. And then multi-point in to the 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch inside on both. Now I've got one more left to do. One more point. Okay, so now you can see the purple area is the area of the border. Now I need to put the corner in there, and it's oriented so it starts here and it will stitch up and over, and then we'll create another one, a corner for the other side. So I want to go to skew and align, and I want to skew it, or I don't want to skew it, I want to align it to the left wall and to the top. So it'll be this button to the left wall and the vertical on the top. Now I can see that it is kind of too big, isn't it? So we need to resize it. So I'm going to resize. I'm going to turn on my lock aspect, and then it will lock the height and width and resize them both proportionate. So I want it smaller, so I'm just going to go ahead and let that go inside. Okay, now I'm going to turn on my follow and zoom in on this so I can see. I made it a little bit too small, so I'm going to go back out, and I can see that the top part is resized correctly, but my width, so I'm going to turn off the lock aspect and make my width just a little wider there so it stretches out and makes that work for me. Now I can see also that I didn't have things squared up on this side, so as I move my crosshair over, I can see, wow, look at that. I've got probably 1/2 inch there that's an issue. But as I look at that on the screen and look at it with my quilt, there may be an issue that I can actually use my hands as I stitch it to stretch that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it like it is. And at the top, I can see that the same issue up here, and so it's a little too high, that I think. It is outside of that area, but it is not outside that it's an issue. So it's still within that 1/4 inch. The binding will not cover that. So sometimes when you create this, you want to make sure the quilt is square. But I didn't want it square, so we can show what we're going to do to correct things. All right, so I'm okay with everything though, even though it's outside of that area. Now I'm going to go ahead and baseline this. So I'm going to press the baseline, and that just freezes that as a new shape and in that orientation. Now I want to take that same design and I want to put it in the other corner. So I'm going back to File, and I'm going to duplicate this one that's selected. So I duplicate it. Now this is my new one, and I also want to rotate it to orient it to the right corner. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate. I'm not going to flip it because I want the start point to rotate and be this rotation to be moved up, and we'll see how that goes right here. So the start point starts there and goes down, because this has to be continuous, so I have to rotate things and not flip them and change the start point direction. All right, now we're going to move over to our left, or to our right side, and we can see that here. Again, I'm going to go to Skew and Align, and I'm going to align it to the right wall and to the top. All right, so I can see again that my height is a little different as far as on the left to the right, but that's the way the quilt is, so I need to work with that. So I'm going to go to Resize, and I'm going to resize the height now because my width looks okay. Going to resize that height and make it a little bit narrower as it goes up. So it's going to tuck right up in there and be just right. Now, it's good enough for, you can see there's a little bit outside there, but it's such a small amount that it still is within my 1/4 area. So I'm okay with that. Now we've got that to baseline it. So it is frozen as that shape and that size. Now we're ready to work with the border area. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and just select the flare border. The other two are grayed out now, so I'm not working with them. Now I want to create a new area. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create just a border area between the two corners. So I want to move my crosshair so that it's at the bottom of the design and right to that start point. And if I want to, I could zoom in on that so that I can see that I'm very accurate. I don't want to zoom in so much so that I can't see where I'm working with the whole design. Okay, I'm going to press first I need to clear that area, and then I'm going to press multi-point. So I've created, let's clear this again, multi-point. So I have my first point, you can see it right there. Then I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to zoom out on this a little bit so I can see, keep that in line, zoom out a little bit. I'm going to go right up to the top, and I want to be to the top of the flower, and also my vertical crosshair lined up with that dot. Press multi-point. I have two, so now you can see that line. I'm going to come over and do the same thing over on the other side. Vertical crosshair lined up with the start point of the corner, and the horizontal lined up at the top. Press multi-point. Then I'm going to come down. That vertical crosshair is still lined up. And now I have created my area. So if I turn off my follow and refresh that, you can see there's my new area that I want to place that design in. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that design and just say fit it in there. It only did 3 because it was so tall. So I'm actually going to put some more in there. But I want to stretch, and I want to stretch the width and the height, so it's going to fit right within that area that I created. And I know the other thing that I want to look for is I want this size to be the same size as my corner. So I need to add more. Let's zoom out on that a little bit so you can see I need to add another one. And I think I'm going to add another one. So again, zoom out so you can see. They look like they're all the same size. I'm pretty happy with that. I kind of like the way that looks. So I'm ready to check and see if they're in the right order and how it will stitch out. So the next thing I want to do is go to select, and I'm actually going to baseline this design right now. And then I can see that it's not right within my area, so I'm going to go to skew and align and actually skew it. So it actually worked with the area. So this side, the height is a little bit shorter than this side, just because of the way the quilt was built. All right, now I want to check and select all. And I can see there's jumps. Things are not in the right order. That says it's going to stitch the corner first, so that corner, then it would stitch the next corner, and then it would stitch the bottom border. Well, I don't want that. I want it to, let's go to stitch order. I want to select this repeat border, and I want to move it up. So now it'll stitch the corner, it'll stitch the repeat border, and then it'll stitch the no design loaded, which means that's the duplicate of my corner. And it's in the right order. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to baseline this so it's all selected. We want everything selected, and let's go ahead and select it all. It changed my order again. Sometimes this happens. So we want to take the repeat border and shift it up, and then I'm going to baseline it. Okay, everything snapped together and I lost my points there, which is what I wanted to do. I don't see any joining points, but I'm actually going to undo this. What would happen if they didn't snap together? That means they're too far apart because I wasn't accurate enough. So let's go in and zoom in on this. And I'm going to turn off my box. And I want to see, as I go right in here, how close they are. And maybe I want to make them a little closer. I know they snap together, but I still may want to do some adjusting. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So I'm going to press the follow. And it's going to follow where my crosshair is. So it's going to zoom in on the crosshair area. I put the crosshair right at that point. I'm going to zoom in on that really tight. Okay, I can see they snap together, but they actually weren't totally together. So I may want to change that. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and go to my select, and I want to select this the second corner, and I'm going to adjust that. I'm not going to adjust the center, I want to adjust the second corner. So I'm going to go to my reposition, change my nudge factor to a smaller nudge factor to 0.01, and then I can, because I have you can see the black, that's what's selected, I'm going to shift it over and down one and turn off my start bullet, and you can see how close they are. So I like that, I'm happy. Now let's go over to the other side and check the other one out and see how close that one was. We should be able to see the start and end, and you can see it. And so I'm going to go ahead and select the first corner. I'm not going to move the border at all, I'm just going to move corners. I'm going to shift it up and shift it over one, and they snap close enough together so that when I turn off my follow and refresh this, I want to select everything, and then Let's zoom out on this so you can see this. There's the green dots in the center of the pattern there where the border starts and then the other corner starts. I want everything now to baseline and be created as one design. So I'm going to go ahead and baseline that, and everything now is one design. So it will stitch out. We'll go ahead and turn our box back on and our start and end points. So we have our start at the corner, and if we want to, we can actually go ahead and clear the area, and then we can go ahead and stitch that out because I know I created that area, the designs are there, it's ready to stitch out. Okay, I've made sure that it's in the correct position and I'm ready to stitch it out. So we'll go ahead and go to our quilt and run. We'll stitch it out. I hope this tutorial helps you in using your Pro Stitcher doing borders. Enjoy quilting.